Okay, now in this section, I would like to talk about the hardwares to give you a brief introduction about all the hardwares I'm going to provide to you. So once you get these books, I hope you can say following items in this book. So firstly, obviously, is this experiment board. On this board, you would say this is the key component, which is the microcontroller chip. And if you want to release this chip, we just need to release this handle here, and then you can freely move this chip. But before you do that, always make sure your power supply is off. Okay, so apart from this microcontroller chip, I also provide the other spare one here, which is exactly same as this chip here. So if you get any problem or if it's failed, you still can have a spare one. Or even some problem with two chips, you still can come back to me. I can provide you other spares. It's relatively cheap, just a few dollars. So I think that's one of the reasons why this kind of microcontroller is such popular, because it is very cheap. So that's the experiment board. Apart from this experiment board, you should be able to see other two cables, which I have already connected with the experiment board. So that's the cables you should be able to see as well in this box. There are two cables, and they are all USB port based, as you can see. So one side you need to connect with your laptop, and the other side you need to connect on the experiment board. There are two boards on this board. This is one, which is for the communication purpose. So when you need to download your programming or your file into this chip, you need to use this port. And this is the other one. This is for power supply purpose. And this port just besides the power supply switch. This is the switch. So you can either push it on or off. So what you need to do is connect those two cables with your experiment board and your laptop. Okay. Thirdly, you should be able to see a LCD indicator, which is something like this. I get 16 pins on the back of this indicator, and you need to connect those 16 pins with the pins on the experiment board here. And when you connect them, just make sure the indicator is on your board side. Don't connect them like this, which your indicator is already outside of this board. So always make sure your indicator is towards the board. Okay, so that's a connection. Alright, so apart from the experiment board, you also will say something in this box as well. This is the step motor and DC motor experiment module. This is step motor, and this is your DC motor. If you have a look at the other side, yeah, it's more clear. So it's your step motor, and this is your DC motor with two wires, which is relatively simple. And the step motor has six wires to connect with. In the motor control tests, we're going to use this test module, and here we can see this is the power supply. So I will provide you the power supply as well. This is the power supply, the sort of standard power supply like most of digital power supplies. So what's the voltage? Yeah, so the AC input is up to 240 volts, 50-60 Hz, and the output is DC 5 volts with 1 amp output. So that's the power supply for this module. What you need to do is connect your power supply with your 240 volts, and the other side just connect with the power supply port here. And there are few jumpers, and when we working on the motor test, we're going to use those jumpers because eventually we're going to use this experiment board or the programming to control the output of either step motor or DC motor. We're going to control the speed, rotation direction, start and stop. So what we're going to do is, here are the pins we need to select and connect it back to the pins and output of the microcontroller. So in those experiments we're going to use those jumpers here, but don't worry about too much for time being. When we are involved in those experiments, I will provide you the exact electrical connections, which pin needs to connect with which pin. So that's pretty much about the hardware. Probably we can have a quick look about the preset programs in this experiment board, because I have already downloaded some pre-programs into this chip, so we probably can have a look and see what we can see on this experiment board. Now I have already connected the power supply because we're not going to involve in any communications, we're just observation what is in this chip, so we don't need this port actually, but however it's already connected and this is power supply. What you need to do is just press this button to start to power up this port. So what you can say is the LCD tubes start to moving from 0, 1, 2, 3 and up to F. So A, B, C, D, E, F, and then back to 0 again. So this is the existing program in this chip. Now if we're going to change it to another chip, the spare one, let's just have a quick look what is available in the other one. This is a new one. Again, make sure before you move this chip from this slot, you always power off your power supply first. Okay, otherwise it probably will damage the microcontroller. Okay, it's tight and nice. It's ranking this probably is the we need to use the LCD indicator. That's reason why we didn't say anything. So we power up again. Yeah, that's better. But the indication seems it's not very good on the screen. I don't know why. Probably it's because the indication is too bright. So can you see that? It's slightly better. So what I did before is okay, so probably it's a good example. I just told you before, this 1602 LCD indicator provides you two lines. So it's first line and the second line. Just slightly better. No, still. Anyway, and each line provides you 16 characters. So start from the first bit, second, and probably you can sort of. It's not very clear, but I hope you still can say layer put a power station. And that is the first line. Second line is a timer. So with hours, minutes, and seconds. So once we start this program, it will start to count. And right now it's 1 minute and the 40 seconds. I probably can have a try with the brightness adjustment, just to show you how you can do that on the experiment board. As you can see here, there are two variable resistors. So one is for the 1602 indicator brightness adjustment, and the other one is for the 128/64 indicator, which is the other indicator you can connect with for the brightness adjustment for the 128/64 indicators. So let's see if we can or not. That's bright, so wrong direction. It seems that help too much. I can see much more clear compared with the video camera. The brightness definitely has been changed, but unfortunately, it seems the video camera don't help too much. So sorry about that, but I hope you can say what's the control purpose of this indication here. So that's the program I have already preset into this microchip. When you get those two things, those two chips, you can start to connect with your power supply and to power up this board and say what's actually is going on here before you actually start any experiment, because you just need power for the observation purpose. So okay, pretty much that's it about hardwares. And the next section I'm going to talk about softwares. I will come back soon. Thank you.